Hey, it's so great to be back here on Math Extra, helping you with math. And by the way, great job, Miss Green. Welcome to our team at Math Extra. I'm Rob Leischner, and I've always been a math person. Right now, after being home for so long, I'm a math person that needs a haircut, but I'm a math person. In fact, no matter what you might think, we're all math people. So let's get started, 7th graders. Let's do this. Let's do the math on Math Extra. Hey, so you remember last week we left off with the Math Extra extra credit problem? So we were talking about the area of circles. And for our extra credit, we were wondering what happens if we multiply the radius times 4. What happens to the area? So a quick review, the area was pi times the radius squared. So if the radius was 4, then the area was pi times 4 squared, or 16 pi. When we multiplied the radius times 2 to get 8, the area was 64 pi, and it was 4 times bigger. When we multiplied the area times the radius times 3, it was 12. The area was 144 pi, and it was 9 times bigger. So we have a little pattern that's developing there. We had 2 and 4, 3 and 9. So now, if we multiply the radius times 4, what's going to happen to the area? So radius times 4, 4 times 4 is 16. And if we do pi times 16 squared, 16 times 16, not 32, 256 pi. Now, luckily I've prepared before the show, and I know that 256 pi divided by our original area of 16 pi is 16 times bigger. So, whatever factor we multiply the radius, we actually multiply the area times the square of that factor. And that's because we're squaring the radius. So if we multiply the radius by a factor, we're also squaring that factor. Now that's going to conclude our session on area for today. Now we're going to move on to the next step, volume. So we just finished our lesson on area. Now we're going to move to the next part, which is volume. Now area is how much space something flat takes up, like a paper. If we put this on the floor, we're not going to trip on it. We can lay it out on a table, it's not going to come up. We can write on it. Volume is how much space something takes up in 3 dimensions, in the world. How much a box can hold is the volume. Now there's a lot of similarities between area and volume because they're both talking about the space something takes up. And we're going to use area to help us find volume. Now in your classroom, you probably learned some formulas about volume, and formulas can be okay, but if you don't really know where they came from, they don't really help. Honestly, when I was teaching, I used to have to look up the formulas before I taught. But once I understood the concept, then I really knew volume. So that's what we're going to do today. So here's a piece of paper. It's flat, it's got a length and a width. We can find the area. We can find out how much space this paper takes up. So I'm going to put it right there on the table, and there's our piece of paper. Let me move these out of the way so you can see. We'll come back to those in a little bit. Now, there's our paper, there's our area. I'm going to take another piece of paper, exactly the same size, same length, same width, same area, and put it right on top. Yeah, it's still pretty flat. It's a little bit thicker, but you can't even really tell that. But now, I'm going to take maybe about 10 pieces of paper. Same length, same width, same area, and we're going to stack those on top. So all of these pieces of paper have the same area, but now they're starting to have a height. They're starting to take up some room. If we put those on the floor, we might trip over it. Now, I'm going to take about 50 more pieces of paper and do the same thing. Let's see what happens now. Again, same length, same width, but now it takes up some space. It's got a height. That's where volume comes from. We take that same area, the area of what's called the base, the shape of the figure, times however many areas we put there, times the height. Now, if we put 500 of those areas together, we would have a whole ream like this, and this takes up a lot of room. If we had 1,000 pieces of paper, we have 2 reams. Now what's interesting, still same length, same width, the height just became twice as tall. So the volume increased by a factor of 2. We multiplied the volume times 2 because you can tell it takes up twice as much space. That's what volume is, and that's how volume relates to area. It's the area of the base times the height. Now, we can find the volume of lots of different shapes. We can find the volume of rectangular prisms like this that have a rectangle base. You can find the volume of a soda can, which has a circle base. That's called a cylinder. You can find the volume of a pyramid, like the pyramids in Egypt. Now, here's what a pyramid might look like. Usually the pyramids in Egypt you see like this, but for the purposes of today's activity, some rice just fell out. We're gonna turn it over. Now I wanna ask you a question. So here we have a box. It's kind of like the ream of paper we talked about before, but I emptied it out because we wanna see how much it can hold. Now this box, you can see the bases. It's about the same size base. I made these myself. I'm not the best at arts and crafts, but I definitely try my hardest. The bases are about the same, and they're about the same height. How many pyramids do you think could fit into a box? Got your guess? Because now we're gonna figure it out. So here, I put some rice, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna fill up my pyramid with rice, see how many times I need to dump it into the box to fill it up. And I'm gonna try my best not to make a big mess, but no promises. Math can get messy. So, there's one, let me get that all the way filled up. There we go. There's one. And I'm gonna dump it in. Let me dump all of it out of there. Oops. And we filled it up about that much. So we still got a ways to go. Now we're gonna try it again. Okay, so we've got our second pyramid filled up, and let's dump that into the box. Make sure we got it all out. Oh, we're getting there now. And you can see we've got some more rice in there. But we still need a little bit more. Let's try it again. Think one more time will do it? Think 2 more? We'll find out. There's our third one. Let's dump it in. Oh my gosh. We are filled, oh yeah, we're filled up. So if you can see there, the rice completely fills up our box. And so, if we know the volume of a box is the area of the base times the height, like we showed with the paper, and we know that it takes 3 pyramids to fill up one box. then we can figure out the volume of a pyramid by finding the area of the base times the height and dividing by 3, because it holds 1/3 the amount. It takes 3 pyramids to fill one box. So if we do area of the base times height divided by 3, or the formula you might have learned, 1/3 BH, that's going to tell you how to find the volume of a pyramid. And in 7th grade, that's really, really important. So let me write these out real quick for you. To find the volume of a prism, it's the area of the base times the height. Notice I didn't say length times width times height, because it's not always length times width. It's length times width for a rectangle base, but for a triangular base it'll be different. For a parallelogram base it'll be different. It's the area of the base times the height. For a pyramid, it's still the area of the base times the height. But we are dividing all of that by 3, which is the same as multiplying times 1/3. Again, sorry about my messy handwriting. It'll get better one of these weeks. So I hope that helped you understand the concept of volume, how we figure out how much something holds. We take that area of the base and stack it on top of each other. So it's the area of the base times the height. And if it's a pyramid, then it takes 3 pyramids to fill up one box. So we take that area of the base times height and divide it by 3. As a math teacher, I've found that it's so important to listen to students and answer their questions, especially since we haven't seen students in a couple weeks. I really miss them. So let's take a question right now on Math Extra. Do we have a caller on the line?
Yes.
Awesome. What's your name?
Brooke.
Hi, Brooke. Where do you go to school, Brooke?
Quail Hollow Middle School.
Awesome. That's close to where I live. Who's your teacher?
Mr. Wyrick.
Oh, awesome. He's great. So, did you have a question for us today?
Yes. What is the volume of a pyramid with a base of 4 and a height of 8?
Great question. So the volume of a pyramid with a base area of 4 and a height of 8. So let's take a look. We're actually going to find the volume of a box first. So if we have a box, a rectangular prism, that's not really a rectangle, but we'll pretend, with a base area of 4 and a height of 8. Brooke, can you help us out with that? If we have a base area of 4 and a height of 8, what's the volume of that box?
32.
You rock, Brooke. I'm telling your teacher to give you extra credit. So if the volume's 32 for that box, and what we just talked about was it takes 3 pyramids to fill up a box. So if we have the same base height, the same base area and the same height, it's going to take 3 pyramids to fill a box. So if the volume of our box is 32, what are we going to have to do to find the volume of a pyramid with that same area and height? Brooke, do you have an idea?
Do you divide by 3?
Outstanding. Divide by 3. So there's a picture of our pyramid. We've got a height of 8. We've got a base area of 4. And you're exactly right. We take our 32 and divide it by 3, which will give us about 10 2/3 cubic units. So that's such an important relationship, Brooke. If we know the box, we can find the pyramid. If we know the pyramid, we can find the box, because the box is always going to be 3 times the pyramid. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. thank you so much, Brooke. I really miss teaching students, and it's been so great talking to you.
Thank you.
Seventh graders, are you looking for a challenge? How about a little math extra credit? Solve the problem, send in your answer, and we'll post it on the show. So if there's a pyramid with a volume of 30 cubic units, what's going to be the volume of a box or rectangular prism with the same area of the base and the same height? Can you figure it out? Think about what we just learned and what we just did with the rice. And that's it for today's 7th grade lesson. But coming up next, Mr. O'Neill has something really special for our 8th graders. So stick around and check it out. Thanks to all my 7th graders out there. And remember, we're all math people. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon. And now it's time to clean up my math mess.